I like Trevor Lawrence for the Belmont. I see him talking. I only think two things. I think.
I got to be honest, man. Hey, every time I watch Trevor Lawrence on TV, I see him running around the football field. He reminds me of Ronnie Bass, Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
Sunshine from Remember the Titans. Or he might remind you of this fella from a movie, the movie Mask. That, of course, is Rocky Dennis. Right. They look somewhat similar. But I like him. I like him on the long track in Belmont. Because when I see that long face, it's all I think. Because I want to make voice sounds. In any event, is he still playing quarterback?
Yes, he is.
You sure? Because isn't Mac Jones there now?
Yes, Mac Jones is there as well.
Oh, yeah, Mac Jones will be starting by Christmas. There's no doubt.
Is Trevor Lawrence a good quarterback, Craig?
Yeah, he is a good quarterback. He unfortunately regressed a bit last year. And, you know, Trevor Lawrence is in one of those spots that there's only 3 or 4 guys in right now. I think 2 is in a similar spot, Plax, where you know they're good. They're NFL quarterbacks, right? They've proven that. The game is not too fast for them. They make pretty much every throw. He's got a stronger arm than Tua does. But is a team going to now guarantee a guy like that, you know, $50 million a year for 3, 4, 5 years? And that's the position the Jaguars are in. You know, it's great to beat Trevor Lawrence in this case because, you know, really good quarterbacks are obviously very hard to come by. If you don't have one, you're searching for one. If you have one, you hold on to that guy with everything you got. But Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars did not take that huge leap last year that he thought he was going to take. Remember preseason talking about 5,000 yards and year 2, the Doug Peterson system. I feel like I really got under control mentally and we're going to be great. And you had Calvin Ridley there for the 1 year and it just didn't materialize. And the worst part about it, unlike the year before, is that it got worse. It didn't get better. Like, it's one thing to start off slow and get better. We want to see that development of a young quarterback, right? But he went from winning a playoff game with that great second half against the Chargers 2 years ago to 9 weeks into last year being the number 1 seed in the entire AFC and falling off the face of the map and ultimately not even making the playoffs. So I think there's a big question mark right now on what is Trevor Lawrence moving forward.
I mean, just like you said, they got up to a great start last year for the first half of the season.
Yeah.
It takes me back to 2 years ago when they played the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep.
And that last game of the season, they went out there and absolutely laid an egg with Frank Wright. And I don't think he's really recovered since then. You look at Trevor Lawrence moving forward, I mean, he's just their guy for who they have right now. I really don't consider him to be one of the elite quarterbacks in this league, maybe one of the top 10. But if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, where do you go from here?
And that's
obviously,
the problem.
Calvin really just walked out of the door, but you did, get Gabe Davis from Buffalo.
Yep.
And now you have who I picked to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Brian Thomas Jr. So for Jacksonville, I mean, listen, I don't think they'll make the playoffs. They'll probably finish 3rd in the division.
And the division's gotten better.
Behind Houston and Tennessee. But for him, I mean, he is going to be one of those quarterbacks that receives the $45, $50 million a year.
They're in a weird spot. They almost have to. Like, I'm sure Jacksonville's saying to him, look, we'll give you 4 years, but we can't give you 50. Will you sign for 40? And he's going to say, no way, because I'm still in a very unique position where, there aren't 20 guys better than me. There might be 10, but there aren't 20. But the point you make, I think, is a great point. I thought a year and a half ago, we were going into an era where the Jaguars were going to be the best team in that division for a good 3, 4, 5 years, right? Deshaun Watson was long gone from Houston. Tennessee had Ryan Tannehill. He was, an average quarterback, and the Colts can't get out of their own way. And all of a sudden, almost overnight, the Houston Texans catapult themselves to be, not even disputably, the best team in the division with a great young quarterback and now tons of weapons around him. You've got the Tennessee Titans, who, yes, have a question mark at quarterback, only because we haven't seen enough of Will Levis just yet. But they built a hell of a team around that kid. And you've got the Colts. And the Colts were a game out of the playoffs last year, and that's without Anthony Richardson. So you have 3 young quarterbacks. Take Jacksonville out of it for a minute. You've got 3 quarterbacks now. C.J. Stroud, proven commodity after year 1. Will Levis, we don't know. Maybe good, maybe not. We're going to find out. And same with Anthony Richardson. that division very quickly becomes very hard to dominate. And the Jaguars are no longer the kings of that castle because the Houston Texans are. So Plax is right. You could even have a 10-7 year, decent year. You ain't making the playoffs.
That division went from one of the worst in football to one of the best, and it seems more likely the Jaguars will end up in last place in the division than first place.
I think it's between them and the Colts because we don't know what Anthony Richardson is yet. We saw glimpses of him being special. Obviously, he didn't play enough games to really make that decision. And I love the kid as an athlete. We got to see if he's an NFL quarterback, obviously. Yeah. But, it's going to be, to me, Houston's a class. I think there's a battle for second and third. Mm-hmm. I do.
Moving on to second and football. Another tough division in the AFC is the AFC North. And one player went from the Ravens to the Steelers and won't stop talking about it. Here is linebacker Patrick McQueen, formerly of the Ravens, now the Steelers, said this about the move. Quote, "It was a no-brainer. At the end of the day, money makes you happy, but you also have to win to be happy."
It's not true.
Everybody is cool. The people are cool. The players are cool. The food spots are better. It's just a better atmosphere for me here. Why do you think Queen is being so vocal in celebrating this move from the Ravens to the
Well, because he's a Steeler now. And, who's the arch enemy? Baltimore. So you got to play the game. Obviously, she's not talking about the guys on the Ravens roster. He's talking about the cities because he's ingratiating himself like a smart veteran will do when you stay in the division but go from one team to the next team. But if you go back to that quote, there's two things that are bold-faced lies in there, and I can back that up. If you've ever been to Baltimore and you've ever been to Pittsburgh, you lived in Pittsburgh for half your career.
Baltimore, Plax.
Pittsburgh's got one sandwich, and it's got French fries on it. Big deal.
That's their only delicacy.
They also have a Roethlisberger. They also have a Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Look at the sandwich.
Hey,
come
they
on,
have
Plax.
a permanis. I know it's just
Yes.
That is
with
not a
the
good
egg and the
sandwich.
coleslaw and the French
It's
fries.
good. It's
But they
not
also
bad.
have a Roethlisberger.
They do have a Roethlisberger, which is also pretty good.
But as a culinary expert, you know the food in Baltimore is better than Pittsburgh.
Hey, man, listen, I'm a Chesapeake Bay guy myself. I'm from Virginia Beach. And nothing's going to steal me from my blue crabs.
And Bob, let me just say this about Baltimore. That's all you got are crabs. Let's not talk about the great fare in Baltimore. You got one product, and it's only good when you douse it in Old Bay. Let's just keep that straight. Now, here's the other lie, by the way. The other lie in what Patrick Queen said is that you have to win to be happy. Money does make you happy. Okay, great. But winning also makes you happy, which is how he defended taking what he claimed was a pay cut from other offers that were out there for about $4 or $5 million more, but they were on bad teams and he doesn't want to play for a bad team. Somebody better call Justin Jefferson and tell him the $88 million is going to make you happy, but you ain't going to win. Because Patrick Queen's talking about how money's great, makes you happy, but winning is just as important.
$88 million of signing bonus, that makes you happy.
He can go 3-14. Ain't about winning. It's about the money is my point. So take the money when you can get the money. Because remember, nobody cares if you can pay your mortgage when your career is over. All these fans that care about you and go to the autograph signings and buy whatever product you're endorsing, the day you fall on hard times, there ain't a fan waiting for you with a check. I can promise you that. Take the money.
We have C.J. Stroud had a great rookie season. Is it going to be a sophomore slump, or is the trajectory going to take off the way Slowik wants it to?
No, look, I think the expectation is that he has a great second year, too. He had a very different, unique rookie season because of the stats. And the key one, of course, is the lack of interceptions. Most young guys, it's the decision-making at the last second, and they have double-digit interceptions. The fact that that kid threw for the amount of yards he threw and the amount of times he threw the football and only had 5 picks says a lot about his ability to read a defense, understand who the check down is, understand who's open, not force balls where they don't belong. And it also says a lot about D'Amico Ryans, their coach there, who I thought did a great job in the games of theirs that I watched last year. Anytime he made a mistake, not necessarily an interception, because he only threw 5 of them, but when he made a bad throw, they came right back throwing the football. And I give the coaching staff a lot of credit, or some of the credit at least, for his development, because a lot of times when you've got a young franchise quarterback, you want to protect him from himself. I remember with Mark Sanchez here, even though he had the great success of going to the AFC Championship game his first 2 years, I'll never forget a game on a Monday night where the Baltimore Ravens, made him wish he had never picked up a football. Right. And from that point on, they went to ground and pound offense, and they were almost scared to let Mark throw the ball as much as they wanted to, and it changed the course of his career, in my opinion, from a confidence standpoint. So I think what they did with C.J. Stroud was very important. Bad throw, all good, throw it again.
Yeah, I think, last year when C.J. Stroud was going into the NFL draft, he had like 50 touchdowns in Ohio State. And a lot of people were saying that a lot of his success was bent on Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think the stigma of the Ohio State quarterback was what stopped him from being the first pick, because you look at all the quarterbacks that came out of Ohio State in the last 10 years. You had Terrell Pryor, Cardell Jones, J.T. Barrett, Justin Fields, Braxton Miller, and Troy Smith, who won the Heisman Trophy. And when teams look at that, they say that maybe there's something wrong internally why the quarterbacks of Ohio State can't come into the
Translate
NFL
to the NFL.
Take that leap. But I think he erased that. And when you we had 400 attempts last year as a rookie, you complete 63% of those attempts. That tells me that he's not turning the ball over, only 5 interceptions. And they asked Ryan Day, what separates C.J. Stroud from all the rest of the young quarterbacks in the league? Ryan Day said, man, he's just so intelligent and he's just so smart. And his play shows that when you, as a rookie, you only have 5 interceptions.
Yeah, now look, he played his ass off, and if you're a Texans fan, there's no reason why you're not playing in the AFC Championship game this year. You got talent everywhere you look. You had Diggs, obviously, to that roster, and you're locked and loaded. But now you got to win, and it's different when there's no expectations.
Not sneaking up on
as
anybody.
A rookie. Now, I wonder if you guys can find out if the New York Jets and the Dallas Cowboys preseason are favored to win 14 of their 17 games. How many games are the Texans favored to win? It can't be less,
what
right?
It's all about, man. It's about the Dallas Cowboys and Dak, and he had a great year offensively.
Yeah.
His best statistical season.
And their fans are lunatics.
But I wouldn't sit here today and say that the Dallas Cowboys are a better team.
Quick question for you, though, Plaxico. Can you guys put the, I don't care the video, but a still shot of Bobby Slowik back up on the screen there? Look, I know he's only like 30-something years old, but can you just go full screen on that for a second? Plax, when you were Plaxico Burress,
right?
That dude shows up for an offensive team meeting. What are you saying?
Man, I thought that was the guy in the locker room walking around picking up jobs. like one of the ball boys.
It's like, Make-A-Wish is so kind that this young kid, he gets to be an offensive coordinator for a day.
Man, they get younger and younger.
I mean, no joke. He can't be 40 years old, right?
No, there's no way.
There's no way he's 40 years old.
He's never shaved in his life.
Easily.
So if I was getting any action in high school, I could be his dad. I'm just saying
it's a great possibility.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me to swallow, or anyone else for that matter. Hey there! Thank you so much for watching the Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.